Welcome to the August 12th, 2025 City Council meeting of the City of Gloucester. This public meeting of the City Council is recorded on Zoom with a link that is posted on the agenda. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raised hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications and public hearings to be recognized to speak. If technical difficulties arise and the Zoom link is interrupted during an in-person hybrid meeting of the City Council and a quorum is present, the meeting may continue after efforts have been made to reestablish the link. The minute shall note the interruption. It is the finding of the City of Gloucester that no individual shall be denied equal treatment or opportunity because of their age, ancestry, color, disability, including intellectual and developmental mental disability, family status, immigration status, gender identity or expression, military status, marital status, national origin, race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. Tonight we have Ward 1 Councilor Scott Memard, Ward 3 Councilor Marjorie Grace, Councilor at Large Jason Grow. We have Ward 2 Councilor Dylan Benson, and we have a Councilor at Large Valerie Gilman, and we have our CAO, interim CAO, Catherine Schlichty. And do we have anyone else online from the city?
Frank.
And we have Frank Majorta, Ward 4 Councilor, and we have Grace Poirier, our city clerk. And me, I'm Tony Gross, the council president, Councilor at Large. We will now have the flag salute. Councilor Bro will lead us in the flag salute. And this evening, in honor of, or in appreciation of the DPW that has gone above and beyond during the Republic work stoppage, we are wearing T-shirts that on the back, if you didn't see, wear "Thank you DPW," and we are grateful of the effort you're making that are beyond your normal scope of work. All right. We have no presentations. We have no. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Oral communications.
Okay, the public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communications shall allow any resident and/or property owner and/or business owner who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, make their statement without debate, and the City Council will refer matters to the office of the mayor. Persons speaking under oral communication shall be limited to 3 minutes each. Anyone in here? State your name and address for the record, please.
Hello? Yeah, thank you. Patty Page, 173 Concord Street. We are a resourced, affluent, and vibrant community. I take note the City Council's meeting at an alternative location seeking comfort. I'm seeking relief and comfort for those who do not have access to such amenities. There is a water feature at Burnham's Field which is no more than a bubbler and needs our support and the city's support. To the best of my knowledge, it has been operational only once. Reports from city departments state the mechanism is broken, it's costly, it gets vandalized. Broken, let's get the proper assessment and fix it. These playground amenities are not complicated and are located across many other communities. costly. It operates on recirculating water. Vandalized, there isn't a scratch or mark of damage on or near it. The city regularly waters our public gardens, going so far as to grant an exception during last year's water ban. Do we signal that our public garden plants and lawns are more precious than our inner city children's comfort and enjoyment? The city supported a $1.6 million infrastructure in Magnolia for the children's pleasure and went to an elaborate hoist system to ensure its protection in a velocity zone. Do they still vandalize the railings for ease of jumping off? This is not opposition of Magnolia Pier. It's only an example. Liability: children jumping off bridges in Annisquam and the aforementioned Magnolia Pier constitutes liability. To digress, swim floats traditionally located at Niles Beach and Stage 4 Park are no more. Adding one to Pavilion Beach would be a reasonable request for next summer. These are the amenities that make a difference in our communities. We all understand the DPW is under a great, unusual burden at this time. There are other departments with modest budgets and resources to call upon. The Board of Health, which advocates for healthy activities. Open Space Committee has jurisdiction over Burnham's Field. Let's hire a pool service or irrigation contractor to assess and make these necessary repairs and make this amenity operational. We hear the call for equity in our community, particularly for the underserved. The smallest act of reestablishing a splash pad area is the very least we can do. We are an affluent, resourced, and vibrant community.
20 seconds, Patty.
To the mayor and city councilors, please, with all our resources at hand, find a way to support this small act for the well-being of the inner city children.
Thank you. Do you have something you want to drop off with Grace? Yes, perfect. You must have practiced. Thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
I have someone else online. I'll bring him in.
Hey, name and address for the record.
Good evening, Joel Favazza, 28 Middle Street. You guys are looking quite sharp tonight in those t-shirts. Nice work. I'm just going to update you guys and offer a donation. Back in, I think it was almost a year ago, August 18th, 2024, I emailed Councilor Benson to let him know that my firm would be willing to donate a replacement EV charger. At that point, one of the two chargers at the Gloucester House lot had been broken for over 2 years. That was last August. Dylan, on a Sunday, I commend him, thank you, Councilor Benson, forwarded my email. Mike Hale got back also on a Sunday. Thank you to him for working on a Sunday with emails, stating that Public Works is working on replacing the existing charging stations this fall, which would have been fall of 24. They all need to match. I don't think this is our best option. And I said, okay, great. I'm glad to hear they're all being replaced in fall of 24. And I left it. Now we are in August of 25. 1 year later, the EV charger that is broken has been broken for 3 years. And the only development is that the other EV charger next to it also broke. So now 2 of our 4 municipal charging stations downtown are both broken. And I am once again willing to donate the appropriate charger to match the ones that were there or a newer model thereof, as long as DPW is able to accept it and install it and all that good stuff. So if the city of Gloucester is interested in replacing these 2 chargers in the Gloucester House lot, everyone has my email. I'm happy to work out something with the city to donate the chargers themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The consent agenda.
Would anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Memard. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. 7-0, 2 absent. Next order of business? 8 to Jeff.
Going to get his t-shirt.
One temporarily absent. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The Budget and Finance Standing Committee report from August 7th.
All good to go? Thank you.
Councilor Memard.
Thank you. We had a good Budget and Finance Committee meeting at City Hall last Thursday. The first item is a memorandum from our Assistant Health Director regarding the Gloucester Health Department's fee structure for 2025, an updated fee structure. And I'm going to move to continue our committee recommendation in this matter until August 26, 2025, providing an opportunity for a response from the Health Department to questions asked at the last BNF meeting regarding the range of fees that the Board of Health is allowed to fines and charges are allowed to assess based on state law. And there's some discrepancy in what that state stipulation may be. So we're looking for clarification on that from the Health Department.
That need a motion.
So it's been moved to continue. Second.
Motion made by Councilor Memard, seconded by Councilor Grow. Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. 8-0, one absent.
The second item from our Budget and Finance Committee meeting last Thursday is a memorandum from the Library Director, Jenny Benedict, requesting our acceptance of the fiscal year 2026 ECCF/GL, that's Essex County Community Foundation and the Gloucester Lyceum and Sawyer Free Library Computer Basics Course Grant Funds in the amount of $13,104. And I'll read the motion. On a motion by myself, seconded by Councilor Worthley, the Budget and Finance Committee voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend that the City Council accept a private grant under the Mass General Law 4453A, a Digital Equity Initiative Partnership Grant from the Essex County Community Foundation, passed through the Gloucester Lyceum and Sawyer Free Library Corporation. This is in the amount of $13,104, and it's for the purpose of supporting the Sawyer Free Library's Digital Learning Lab and Computer Basics course. The grant period is from August 1st, 2025 and through December 31st, 2025, and there is no local match for this grant, and I so move.
Motion made by Councilor Memard, seconded by Councilor Worthley. Discussion.
This was described in some detail. I think it'll qualify up to 50 eligible community members to participate in an early training about introduction to uses of computers and computer literacy skills. And it will also involve volunteer and paid support from both students and mentors that the library is coordinating with through the high school and other resources. So it sounds like a great program. We had a nice discussion about it at Budget and Finance.
More discussion? Councilor Gilman.
Just a suggestion. It would be great if the folks at Rose Baker were well informed about this program.
That was discussed
Okay, great,
appropriately.
thank you.
I think Councilor Worthy brought that up.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. 8-0, one absent.
And then there's no action required this evening, but if any of you have the opportunity to review our minutes, Kenny Costa, the city auditor, did a in-depth, fascinating presentation concerning the city's annual fiscal year 2024 Comprehensive Financial Report, or AFCR. And we also talked a little bit, delved into the city's financial history, which was an interesting exercise, going through the years and the decade, basically, where the city was in severe financial straits. And the last dozen years, we've been addressing that in progressively better ways, and currently have a sound fiscal reserve, as you're all aware. But we, as is in our minutes and on the Zoom meeting, we had a lengthy discussion and presentation about the city's financial resources and the history around how they are analyzed, structured, and reviewed by the state and our auditors.
And we'll probably have a presentation at some future meeting by the auditor.
We invited that at some time. It's appropriate. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but there is a great presentation in our Zoom presentation of the meeting. Lyons did a good job of capturing it all in a minute.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
The August 4th Ordinances and Administration Standing Committee report.
Councilor Majota, you're up.
Val didn't want to give me the remote. There's no action. This is just for info only. Number one, memorandum for the General Counsel regarding a private road home rule petition. This matter is continued to August 26, 2025. And number two, CC number 25-033, Grace Amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22 through 265, turning movements generally by adding Kent Circle at its intersection with Western Avenue, right turn only. And number three, CC 2025 through 034, Grace Amend GCO Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 22 through 270, parking prohibited at all times, and Section 22 through 291, tow-away zones, Whittemore Street, Curtis Square, and Washington Street. These matters will be advised for a public hearing on September 23rd, 2025. Thank you.
I'd just like to comment that I appreciate you gracing all of those.
Madam Clerk, next order of business.
The August 6th Planning and Development Standing Committee report.
Councilor Grow.
Thank you very much. Are we up? We discussed two items at the meeting. The one that we're acting on tonight is a memorandum from the General Counsel regarding a grant of conservation restriction at 3 Colburn Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts. And you want me to just go straight into the recommendation? Yeah. On a motion of Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Gilman, Planning and Development voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council approve the acceptance of a conservation restriction from Colburn Street Development LLC to the Gloucester Conservation Commission for a 1/2 plus or minus acre portion of the property located at 3 Colburn Street, map 153, lot 73, as shown and described on the plan attached to the conservation restriction entitled Exhibit A for conservation purposes to ensure that the premises will be maintained in perpetuity in its natural and open state and condition, and to prevent any use of change that would materially impair the conservation values pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 184, Section 32, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Grow, seconded by Councilor Gilman.
On the motion?
On the motion.
It's fairly straightforward. It's a relatively small conservation restriction. The entire property is about 1 acre, and it turns out that this was a requirement by Mass Department of Environmental Protection, Mass DEP, to give them a permit to build the property up with 2 units that they have done since then. That was resultant from an appeal to their permit granting back in 2018. So this is actually dictated by Mass DEP. Again, it's a small conservation restriction. It's got a little pond on about half of it, and the rest is wildlands. And it abuts other sort of big areas, not of conserved land, but of undeveloped land. And it's pretty much a straightforward thing. There's no cost to the city. The Conservation Commission holds the restriction, and that is basically it. Any other questions? I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Councilor Gilman.
On the motion. So I will be supporting this. I was the ward counselor during the year that all these hearings came about, and the neighbors truly appreciated being heard, and I think that this is a good outcome. So thank you.
So, any other questions? So basically, this is heavier foot to keep their feet to the fire on.
Yeah, I think that they just, whoever appealed the original permit wanted to prevent any additional development, because it is a 1/2 acre and it's zoned enough to actually build on it if you subdivided it and turned it into a second property. So my guess is, without knowing what the Mass DEP appeal was about, They wanted to prevent additional building on that property and any potential damage or encroachment on the pond that is up there. There is a wetland, yeah. Yeah.
Do you know why it requires us to sign it? Because the.
We
orig-
have to
the
sign any
original permit?
conservation
Okay. right, thank you.
restriction. Yeah. They technically could build on it if they got the permitting. I mean, not now. Once the restriction's in place, they can't build on it.
Right, okay. So we better sign it quick. All right. Any other questions? Never hand raised, so. All right. She doesn't have her hand raised, she's just there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 8-0, 1 absent.
And then finally, just a couple of notes. There's a application for a special council permit at 23 Dale Avenue to convert an existing building that has 3 office spaces and 2 residential units into one that has 4 residential units, and then an off-site over the garage office space. That site visit is set for, I wrote it down, Tuesday, thank you very much, August 18th at 6 p.m. Sorry, it's not 18th, it's 20.
19th,
Help me out here, folks.
August
Thank you.
19th.
August 19th. I had 2 site visits listed at 6 p.m. Right, I neglected to write the actual date down. 23 Dale Avenue, September 19th at 6 p.m. Correct. Why am I even here? I have no idea, folks. Sorry, I apologize. I'm having a moment, Scott. I'm sure you can understand. Anyway, August 19th, 6 p.m., 23 Dale Avenue. It would be an exterior site visit. We won't be going into the building. Also, this has nothing to do with the council at this point, but MIPA is having a site visit on Monday, August 18th at 4 p.m. This one I did get correct regarding the paint factory application that is being put in. If people are interested in that, they have opened this up to the public. So that is on Monday, August 18th at 4 p.m. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
And it's at 26 Dale Avenue, the project site?
It's a,
23.
yeah, 20, the first one
23.
is 23 Dale Avenue. Did I say 26? 23 Dale Avenue. Are we clear on this now? 23
Yep.
Dale Avenue, City Council special permit. MIPA is
factory.
the paint factory on the 18th. There
The
you go.
18th at 4?
At 4.
No, enough. No, Dale Ave is the 6th. Rocky Neck is at 4.
At 4. To accommodate our working council members.
He works till 5. All right, next order of business, Madam Clerk, let's get out of this.
Let's try, yeah. I'm going to shut up for the rest of the night.
Yeah, good luck.
Public hearing 2025, number 25, loan order amendment to loan order 2022-008 for doors and windows at O'Malley Middle School, increasing the amount from $6,500,000 to $6,610,000.
I'm going to open the public hearing. Those speaking in favor? Name and address for the, or name and position.
Yes, thank you. Catherine Schlichty from the mayor's office. I'm going to try and do my best Connor McCorkle tonight. I'm sure I will not do as good as him, but I'll do my best. He schooled me on this. So tonight is before you a loan amendment, a loan order amendment. In November of 2022, you approved a loan order for $6.5 million for windows and doors at O'Malley School. That project is reimbursable by the Mass School Board Authority. And the first $110,000 of the project was paid for before the loan order was put in place, and it was paid for out of the school department's general budget. So the MSBA is requesting a loan order amendment so that the actual costs of the project the loan order reflect the actual cost of the project. So this is really an administrative amendment. It's not going to result in any more debt to the city, but it will get our paperwork in compliance with the MSBA's requirement. So this is at their request.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone to speak in opposition? No, with their hand raised. Do we have any communications, Madam Clerk?
We do not.
Questions from the councilors? Councilor Worthley.
Thank you, Ms. Schlichty. Do we know what the percentage is on the MSBA reimbursement?
Well, in the original loan order, this is where it says 61.02%. So
Putting this 115,000 into the loan order is the equivalent of about a $70,000 reimbursement.
Well, you got to understand the MSBA reimbursement. There's several things that are not reimbursable. So you're eligible to up to 61%, but you usually wind up well below 50.
This is going to save us some number, some dollars, right? Whether it's 50,000 or 60,000, but
well, it's going to keep the MSBA happy. So
Oh, no, there's going to be a financial.
right, it allows us to be
Benefit.
reimbursed for this amount because it wasn't in the loan authorization initially. Right? I see this as a positive. We're saving money by making this loan order larger.
Anyone else? Okay. Would you like to read, who reads this recommendation?
close the public
Oh, I got to
hearing?
close the public hearing. Sorry. Councilor Memard.
Yes. Budget and Finance Committee recommendation on a motion by myself, seconded by Councilor Gross. Budget and Finance Committee voted 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 present, to recommend that the City Council approve the loan order as follows. Ordered that the Certificate of Vote 2022-165 of this council approved November 22nd, 2022, authorizing the borrowing of $6,500,000 to pay for costs associated with replacing doors and windows at the Ralph B. O'Malley Middle School, including the payment of all such costs, all costs incidental or related thereto, is amended in its entirety to provide as follows: that the City of Gloucester appropriate the amount of $6,610,000 for the purpose of paying costs of replacement of windows and doors at the Ralph B. O'Malley Middle School, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto. The project, which proposed repair project, would materially extend the useful life of the school and preserve an asset that otherwise is capable of supporting the required educational program, and for which the city may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or the MSBA, said amount to be expended under the direction of the appropriate school building committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, pursuant to any other enabling authority. The city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the city incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city. Provided further that any grant that the city may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 61.02% of the eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount as determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA. And there's always another paragraph. Further ordered that any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any other such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. And further ordered that the treasurer is hereby authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under Chapter 44A of the general laws and near all of the bonds authorized by this order, and to provide such information and to execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for these purposes. And I so move.
Motion made by Counselor Memard, seconded by Counselor Worthley. Discussion. Seeing none. Roll call vote.
Counselor Grow.
Aye.
Counselor Majota. Counselor Memhard.
Aye.
Counselor Worthley.
Yes.
Counselor Benson.
Aye.
Counselor Gilman.
Aye.
Counselor Grace. Counselor Gross.
Aye.
The vote is 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. The motion passes.
Okay, next order of business, Madam Clerk.
For council vote, motion for reconsideration, Grow. City Council vote of July 22nd, 2025 regarding RZ 2025 number 4 to amend GZO Section 1.4 Organization and Administration of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Section 1.4.1 Membership by deleting each member and associate member shall have been a resident of the City of Gloucester for at least 3 years prior to his or her appointment to the board.
Counselor Groh, would you like to give us your justification for the reconsideration?
Yeah, the decision was made at Planning and Development and brought forward to the full council. It came about after the vote and after the meeting that we did not fully consider or talk about the recommendation from the Planning Board. Planning Board usually puts forward a recommendation of any Gloucester zoning ordinance change, and the recommendation was in the package to the City Council. We all had access to it. We just didn't bring it up on the night. I should have. That's my oversight. They did make a recommendation to amend that down to 1 year. It is a recommendation, and I think that given desire for full transparency, that might have had a determining effect on other people's review of the discussion and the deliberations, and I felt it was incumbent to give that opportunity, even though personally it didn't change my mind.
Okay, thank you. So we need a motion to reconsider. I'd first like to again express, I think that it's very important that we don't telegraph our vote until everyone's had an opportunity to speak. So I think that it's a good idea that you take into consideration, even though you think you're moving one way, you may be convinced to move another, and so to make a statement that you're in favor or opposed to it is not helpful to the process of the city. So I will continue to remind us of that because it hasn't been the practice mostly. Anyway, we need a vote to, I want you to, we need a vote to reconsider. So I guess I moved to reconsider the City Council vote of July 22nd, 2025. Councilor Gilman seconded it. And do we want to do roll call on this, or?
State the motion is approved.
This is just, okay, the motion that was approved was on a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Gilman. City Council voted 8 in favor, 1 opposed, to amend the Gloucester zoning ordinance section 1.4, Organization and Administration, the Zoning Board of Appeals, section 1.4.1, membership, by deleting each member and associate member shall have been a resident of the City of Gloucester for at least 3 years prior to his or her appointment to the board. Okay. So, do we want to do a roll call on this? Yeah. Sure, we can have a discussion on the motion to reconsider, but it's a motion.
Yeah, just on the motion. So when someone votes in the majority, they have the right within 24 hours to.
Right, I think we
reconsider.
all understand that.
Well, maybe the public doesn't know. I got a call today wondering what this was, and
So did I, but they knew what reconsideration was. They
Okay.
they didn't understand what the rest of it was.
right. So this vote is, should we discuss it again? Yes. If it's a no, it stays as is.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Counselor Grow,
Yes.
Counselor Majota, Counselor Memhard, Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Benson, Counselor Gilman. On the motion to reconsider, do you want to reconsider this vote? Counselor Grace, Counselor Gross.
Yes.
The motion to reconsider this vote is 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. The motion can now be reconsidered.
Okay, would you like to read the motion that was original?
The original motion?
The
which
original
is-
motion, I think that's what we have to read, correct?
No, you don't have to. So you've got, you're
So we've already- so now-
reconsidering this, so now
So
you're going to have,
Now we're back to discussion.
yes.
Okay. I read the motion that was voted on, so yes, now we're discussing it again.
I will just sort of reiterate what I said in the beginning, which is that the planning board did do a review of this. It was, to be honest with you, it was not a very long review, and it touched on a lot of the points that we talked about at the city council level. I maintain my position that we shouldn't be having one board on it.
Yeah. I wanted to make something before we got into
Oh,
the
sure.
full discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I looked into the wheres and wherefores of residency requirements, and legal came back to me with some very illuminating points about it, and whether or not one of the flaws that it has is it has no definition of residence. So that's a major flaw in this piece. Another is that it has no, and we've all discussed this, we can't find any reason what they gave for creating this. And in order to create a legal residency requirement, you also have to have what its stated intent is, or what the purpose of it is, or why you did it. So this lacks both of those, and I think so we're at somewhat risk from a previous council, which this is not the first time, that they didn't do things correctly to begin with to create this. So having this remain on the books may have a detrimental effect. I mean, you know, 1 billion to 1, someone would sue to be on a committee, but it could come up. It could come up. So I just want to let everyone know that I had been informed of that fact that it needed really a statement of intent is how they put it, and also resident needs to be required. Who is a resident? What is residency? So just want you to think about that as we move forward on this. Councilor Worthley.
Thank you. I'm not privy to the discussion with the legal department, but I wondered, in your wisdom from having seen it, should this be something that we continue or send back to plan and development to work those things out, defining residency, making it so that we haven't created a different problem? Amending something that we don't think is right makes it
But we have
also
nothing,
problematic.
we have nothing to work with. If somebody wants to create a new ordinance or an amended ordinance to this, that's a whole different animal. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know, I'm just trying to think it
Yeah,
through.
the motion before us doesn't
Doesn't
have
solve
that-
any problem. Those
doesn't
problems.
solve these
Right.
issues. So, yeah.
May
Yeah.
I? Attorney Egan is on the call. So,
It was Rocco who I was speaking with.
so you don't think Suzanne has a similar message that
I mean, we can ask her.
Rocco has?
but- Go ahead, Suzanne.
Good evening, councilors. I apologize for missing the last item on your agenda. But with regard to the residency requirements in the zoning ordinance, I had discussions with Rocco DeFilippis, the Assistant General Counsel, prior to, while we were considering the amendment with regard to residency requirements. And I do think that defining resident is important, because definitions are always important, right? We need to know what language we're talking of, what is the criteria? How do you define that criteria? And then the second issue is an intention. Why, what the courts and the Constitution look at is there a rational basis for that condition that's contained within an ordinance? And if the city council articulates the rational basis for that residency requirement, that makes the ordinance much more defensible, and also it provides notice and the reason to the public when you adopt it. So
Okay, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. So you heard it from the legal department now. Yep. Go ahead, Councilor Groh.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish up and say that by continuing with the affirmative vote that we took at the last meeting, we're essentially eliminating the requirement, which effectively solves the problem that we have with the lack of intent and the lack of definition. And if at some point someone feels compelled to do so, to create a residency requirement, then they can have the opportunity to do that with the statement of intent and the rationale, and also consider that all boards and commissions ought to be held to the same kind of standard. So if we're going to have a standard for one, we should have a standard for all of them. Again, I pointed out there's no residency requirement to become an elected official in Gloucester, and we're holding a volunteer board to a higher standard than we necessarily hold ourselves, and the state holds us as elected officials. So I would recommend that we stick with the yes vote on this, eliminate the 3-year requirement, and that cleans up the situation with the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we can move forward if we want to later on.
Just to clarify, there is a residency requirement for elected officials.
Right, but not a length of permanent
not
time.
a-
Like you can
yeah.
move in tomorrow and, well, not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's,
I think you have to be registered to vote and 18 and live in
the
Gloucester.
benchmark is low.
Yes.
Yes.
A member of, but.
And
yeah.
anywhere in the
Yeah.
Eastern Seaboard.
But there isn't,
apparently.
okay. I just wanted to make sure people understood that somebody from out of state can, run for city council. Anyone else? Okay. And then we'll have, so we need the motion on the floor again. Do you have? Yep,
It needs to be read as the P&D committee recommendation.
as the P&D committee reg.
I'm just pulling that up. That was the city council vote.
That was the same motion now.
Not saying who moved and seconded.
We're not reconsidering this vote?
When you reconsider it, it's as if it didn't happen at all.
Don't get me started on dates.
I'll find it for you if you can just hold on just a moment, please. It was July 16th, and I'll just unplug my computer. July 16th.
Committee recommendation on a motion by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Gilman. Planning and Development Committee voted 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent, to recommend that the City Council amend the Gloucester Zoning Ordinance, Section 1.4, Organization and Administration of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Section 1.4.1, Membership, by deleting each member and associate member shall have been a resident of the City of Gloucester for at least 3 years prior to his or her appointment to the board, and I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Gilman. Discussion. Councilor Worthley.
in light of the recommendation from the planning board, I'd like to make the recommendation, the amendment, as I did before, for a one-year residency requirement prior to his or her appointment to the board. And I so move.
A motion made by Counselor, on the amendment, motion made by Counselor Worthley, seconded by Counselor Majota. Discussion on the amendment.
President? Yep. Thank you. So a lot of the arguments I made 2 weeks ago, we don't need to revisit them. I think there's a lot of value in somebody knowing the city as well as they can, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's hard at any number of years, but 0 number of years is even harder. Had I known that the planning board made the same recommendation, I certainly would have said that at the meeting. And shame on me for not knowing, and we didn't have that present for us all to know, although no offense meant to the clerk's office. It was included in the packet, and we didn't know, for whatever reason, that they had made that recommendation. The planning board, if anybody watched that video, in their wisdom, they didn't seek to define residency with any more specificity than the obvious. The process is flawed, and we need to get better at it. Not saying they are flawed. They're wise, and they said they were actually, a couple of them were surprised that there wasn't a residency requirement for the planning board itself, which, I think one of the members who's lived here for probably the shortest amount of time said maybe there should be one for the planning board. So that their recommendation was there has to be at least something that says you can't move here on Monday and get appointed by the mayor on a Tuesday and take a vote on a Wednesday. They didn't say in those words, but that is the effect. If we were to make it a 0 length of time for residency other than immediate, there's a risk. I don't think a 1-year threshold is a long time. And I go back to the argument, which is my calculation says there's about 24,000 people in Gloucester who are eligible with a 3-year residency requirement. And if we asked all 24,000 and we still couldn't find one person, then it would make sense. Let's loosen the residency requirement and add another 500 people that would be possible. But I would submit that we haven't asked 24,000 people, and that's not a knock on anybody, but we haven't. There's no capacity to have asked 24,000 people. So I've served before in planning development for 4 years, so I know that there's a challenge in knowing the characteristics of the neighborhood, which are part of the zoning board's requirement, is to take votes for things that are consistent with the character of a neighborhood. How do you know that character? You don't know it in a drive-by site visit or a specific site visit. I think you know it by knowing the community. And so I would support the planning board's recommendation for a 1-year residency requirement. And I think we could also do the other thing, which is, okay, we've protected the interests of the people who want to say, let's make sure people know what they're voting on. And we've also can open up the conversation for a councilor to submit a definition for residency with the support of the legal department. I don't think we should make a change to 0 residency requirement, and so I stand by that. And I think the planning board's recommendation was pretty strong. I think it was unanimous for a 1-year recommendation for residency. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Benson? Did you have your hand up? Yes, she had her hand up. You already speak yet? No? Okay. Councilor Gilman?
So I'm going to stick with our original vote.
Remember, I asked you not to state that until all the arguments are done.
Why?
Right, you can do it so that
We're
so that you.
deliberating.
I asked people not to state how they were going to vote until
Well-
they heard all the conversation. Because I think that's only fair.
But how,
You don't have to say,
So how
I'm
co-
going to vote in favor of this. You can talk about it, but you don't have to state it.
okay, let me see if I
Because
can
you may
figure
change
this
your
out.
mind by hearing other things. That's all. It's in fit for fairness. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Okay. So we had a rigorous conversation at our last meeting on this. We talked at length. One of the important things that we all discussed as a group was that it's obvious when our administration selects someone, they know what their experience is, particularly for an important position like the ZBA. We also talked about the fact that in ZBA, they do site visits, so they have an opportunity to look at the different neighborhoods when they're having to make a decision on neighborhood character. So it's not a blind conversation. They're thorough with their vetting, and the city administration made this particular recommendation. So I won't say how I'm going to be voting, but those are the reasons. Thank you.
Hold on, but my point is it does influence how people think if we do say how we're going to vote on it ahead of hearing all of the deliberation before, you know. That's my point.
I'm not sure how persuasive I am. I don't think I have the persuasion of like an LBJ. I'm not sure anyone up here does, but
Okay.
LBJ was very persuasive. One of the most. But
Stay
anyway,
on topic.
I'm going to stay on topic. I was just to the solicitor, if you can hear me. I'm just as we're discussing, looking at like the Muni code under like the beginning of our code and ordinances, we have some definitions. Looking at that, do we define what a resident is or isn't? If that question makes sense.
And I do not have that in front of me right now, so I'm not positive whether or not we do, but I apologize, but I don't. So I know that there are different definitions for residents in different contexts.
Yep.
And that's what we want to look at, is you want to make that determination of what a resident is. And there is some definitions of residency for the purposes of registering your children for school. And there are some for registering to vote. And they may be the same, but we want to be very specific as to what they are when you're talking about making that a requirement to participate in the local government.
No, sure, because I'm looking at like elected officials requirements, for example, and it shows like you have to be a resident in Gloucester, you have to be a registered voter, and your domicile has to fit that you live in this community, or like in a ward, your domicile has to be in the ward, whether it's owning or renting. But to that point is, I think that this, from really what I'm gathering and understanding, is that this seems that there should be it should be all. There shouldn't be just one. I understand with something like the Zoning Board of Appeals and appreciating a lot of what I've heard from constituents since the first vote. But I do think like if we're going to have only this one, but not the others, it seems to me be conflicting. So I think the better solution would be to have all or none. And I do think it's important going forward is like, could we look at maybe defining what resident is in our code of ordinances? I think that's something to be looking at. But to the stressing on that, and I will say I appreciate Councilor Worthley you bringing this, and you brought this forward at the last meeting as well. With that being said, is I think we should be looking at not just one, why just this one specifically, and not all of them. Because I think there should be consistency.
Thank you. Councilor Grow.
I'm not going to repeat my previous statements, but I will take a little issue with the idea that we don't ask people to do step up for this. The mayor's office, this administration, other administrations have always made announcements that there are seats available on various boards and commissions, and that we need people to step up and volunteer. I mean, I don't know that we need to solicit a specific ask from every single person through a mailing of some sort. But if you're going to be interested in being involved in the city, you know that there are positions open out there, and people ask all the time. So I think that, you know, the idea is that we want to get people involved in the city. We don't want to turn people who are interested in being involved away because of what I think is kind of superfluous reasoning. When you think about the fact that every situation that comes up before the ZBA, before the planning board, before the Board of Health, any licensing, permitting body is unique to that situation. And facts and circumstances are unique to that application. There may be similarities, but a zoning Board of Appeal or zoning ZBA case on one property in East Gloucester, maybe a completely different set of circumstances, even if they're very similar, and the result in another neighborhood that you may not have any awareness about because we have such a vast region of neighborhoods. And any given situation is going to be hammered out by the board on that particular case. And as was pointed out by CIO Schlichty last night, she's been years on the ZBA, they go and they look at every situation uniquely and within the context of the application. So I don't know. I think that if you're, a reasonable person with a reasonable sense of being able to articulate what the issue is, you can make that decision whether you've lived here for 1 year, 3 years, or 25 or 50 years, or your entire life. So I don't think we're not solving a problem by putting a 1 year restriction on it. I think, as Councilor Benson said, let's do it all or nothing. If someone wants to take on the task of adding a residency requirement to all of our boards and commissions, fine, let them, so be it. But I think at the moment we're actually solving a problem by eliminating it, and putting a 1 year doesn't solve that problem.
President?
Councilor Worthley.
Thank you. To be clear, I did not say that this administration or prior administrations has not tried to fill boards with volunteers. I said that the change from 3 years to 1 year does not open up a large number of people compared to the 25,000 people that could serve. So the problem that we're trying to solve is to give more people opportunity to volunteer. Fantastic. But this change from 1 year to 0 years is affecting 200 or 300 people, 1% of the population. So like you're saying, the 1 year doesn't solve anything because you think we can intuitively know the city really well. The putting 1 year does also not increase the number of people who could volunteer by more than 300 or 400 people. So I would submit again that if we had some sense that we've asked everybody, and we can't ask everybody, but if we had a sense that this was going to open up a whole bunch of other people to support this, to serve, then it would make sense. The other thing I'd like to say is, you said it was superfluous. For 56 years since the zoning code came into place, we've been appointing people with this residency requirement. I haven't done the math. I wasn't alive then, but by 1969, we had an attorney then. We probably had 30 attorneys since then. Not one of them, and not one planning board, and not one zoning board had a confusion about what residency is. I appreciate that we want to define it in different ways, but I think it's sort of like, it's pretty obvious that if it hasn't been a problem for 56 years, then why do we now say, well, we can't have a 1 year thing unless we make every board be 1 year? Well, we know what residency is for voting. We know what residency is for running for office. We know what residency is for having your kids here. I don't think that conflating it or confusing it actually helps at all. For 56 years, we have not had this problem. So why are we creating a problem? So I submit that the 1 year requirement is the right way to go.
Thank you. I'm going to weigh in on this. I disagree that this is not a problem. Just because for 56 years it was being done wrong doesn't mean you keep doing it. Now that we're aware, we've seen a few instances where this has had to be corrected. Things have had to be corrected within our ordinances and the way we've practiced things. And I think the planning board, by not taking into consideration any of this, they discussed this for a very limited amount of time. There was no in-depth discussion on this whatsoever. And I wasn't even aware, I should have been aware that it got pushed out to them, but I didn't pay much attention that it was being forwarded to them, and that's my fault. And I probably would have attended that public hearing to say that this needs to happen for everybody or for nobody. And I think that I was under the misapprehension that I thought that it was in the charter that everyone had a 1 year requirement. But I have since determined that was something I must have dreamt, or somehow it was because it's not in the the current charter. It's not in the copy of the charter I have from 1986, so it doesn't, wasn't something that was added or removed. So I think that if we're going to do this, we have to do it for all. And I think that this is an opportunity to correct this one for now, and then do the work that it takes to have it done for all of them, if that's the route that we wish to go. Councilor Benson?
Question actually for you, since you alluded to this. You said charter, but if we did make this change for all, we wouldn't go through charter. Just so I can I understood that, but when you were saying, I just want to
No.
make sure fully. Okay.
And this would cross over, if it was made, it would be for all boards, committees, and commissions, which would cross over also into the zoning ordinance. So it would be for both
But within
code
the code of
and-
ordinance.
and zoning ordinance. Councilor Grace?
Thanks. Are we on? Thank you. I think it's important for consistency, to make it uniform across the board. I think it's important to, if there is the potential, even the slightest potential that there could be a legal issue about this, that we need to be consistent so that we avoid any type of legal problem down the road. And if anybody feels strongly about making a length of residency requirement, there's nothing stopping any counselor from pursuing that down the road and having in-depth conversations with the different boards and committees to get an across-the-board opinion of what they feel. But I think the bottom line here is we have the potential of facing a legal issue if we do not make this uniform now. Thanks.
Thank you. So this is on the amendment. Roll call. We're done?
Counselor Grow?
No.
Counselor Majota? Counselor Memhard?
No.
Counselor Worthley?
Yes.
Counselor Benson? No. Counselor Gilman?
Voting on the amendment to amend it to 1 year. No, just the amendment to have it be a 1-year residency requirement from the 3-year residency requirement. That is the amendment.
The motion, the main motion was to delete the residency requirement completely. And a motion has been made to amend that to add a 1-year residency requirement. Counselor Grace? No. Counselor Gross?
No. Now we're back to the main motion.
To announce the
Oh,
vote.
sorry.
The vote is 2 in favor, 6 opposed, 1 absent. The motion to amend fails.
Okay. Now we're back to the main motion. Discussion on the main motion.
I've said what I have to say. I think we know where we are.
Yep. Since we're back to the main motion, I think that it's important for consistency. Councilor Majota, do you have anything on the main motion?
I guess just a question, and just for clarification for everything. If we're looking for consistency and, and the potential of not being sued or anything like that, we're looking for a potential residency to define residency for all boards and commission, correct?
Not on this motion. This motion is strictly about removing the 3-year requirement for the zoning board of appeals membership. All the rest was just discussion about that it, being consistent, but that would be a future council order. Councilor Memard.
I'd just like to say that I'm comfortable with the process that we have, where applicants who have expressed interest in any of our boards and commission vacancies go through the mayor's office. They present their background criteria, qualifications, their curriculum vitae, their life experience, their interests, and then that's referred to our subcommittee, which again interviews them, has an opportunity to screen them further, and then they are recommended to the full council, where we again have a chance to review their qualifications and to interview them. And I don't think that residency for me is a factor that needs to be weighed in this. The fact that they're interested, that they're appropriately qualified, and they go through the screening that we've already structured is adequate for me at this time.
Councilor Benson.
Yes, thank you. And as I said, and I won't repeat myself about having the consistency and really where I was when we originally voted on this. I do think it is important that members of boards and commissions understand the community, but I will say as myself, understand the places that where you're going and you're deciding things and having a knowledge of where something is. But I will say, like, growing up in the downtown area, growing up here in Ward 2, I didn't know a lot of the areas that I've been to as a P&D now member. Just haven't. I didn't grow up in those rich areas. But that, with that being said, is but again, I do think it is important for members of boards and commissions to have an understanding. And as we go forward, that is something to look out. But on this, again, it's about consistency for me. And I do appreciate hearing from constituents concerns of folks not understanding the community. But again, it's consistent. It's not consistent with other requirements for boards and commissions. So going forward, we can look at that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Worthley.
Thank you. I won't go any further than just a couple things here. There are a couple of boards and commissions that don't require any residency. Okay?
Not on this motion.
I know, but we're talking about consistency, and we want to make it all consistent, so it's residents only, but it's 0 number of years, and because this one has a number of years, we want to change them all. But there are boards and commissions that don't require residency. That's one. So if someone wants to take this on, it's a much bigger project than just a blanket 0 number of years. What's that? And I would argue, without knowing, because none of us were here then, or none of us were serving then, I'm only assuming that the reason why the zoning board had a residency requirement as opposed to the Cemeteries Commission or the Clean City Commission or the Archives Commission, all important boards, is that they're making substantial decisions that could affect the quality of life in a neighborhood. If a Cemetery Commission member wants to work on cleaning up a cemetery and they just moved here the day before, okay, thank you, we'll take the help. I would think the reason why they put a requirement for 3 years was they wanted someone who could at least understand the neighborhoods or figure out how to understand the neighborhoods. I know you said, Councilor Benson, that you didn't know some of the areas in the city, but because you live here, you have a way of getting that information. The last thing I want to say on this is none of this has been directed towards the individual that was recommended a couple months ago. I read his resume, and he's very impressive. So I just want to be clear that I don't know him. There's no axe to grind. I welcome him, and this is
Not
about
talk individuals.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's clear that's not about an individual. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Just a couple of points. There's a few different residency requirements in our Muni Code. They differ. And I think if one's going to be created, it has to be created for the boards and commissions of what that is, because it's different. You don't have to be a registered voter to be a member of the board. You don't have to live in a certain neighborhood to go to a certain school. You don't have to, there's, the clamors just say resident of Gloucester, doesn't say anything. Short-term rental has a different primary residence, and that's different because you have to own the home. And so all those other residency requirements are not relevant to this because they're different and they don't apply. And I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. There was something else I was going to make a point out, but I guess we shall. Anybody else?
I promise.
Very
I know.
quick.
We're very quick.
but just to the point.
Yeah. To the point is, I think too, as I was just sitting here thinking about it, is that we review every appointment that comes before, and I think it's important when we go through obviously some of them go through O&A, and asking those questions, like asking them, do they understand the community? That's the process. Now, if they don't, then we can say no, or we can even say we'd actually like to see it even in the subcommittee, withdraw the the recommendation. So I think those are things to think about as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Council,
Oh. You want the motion repeated?
You want me to read the one that we read last time, or the one? Yeah, we'll read that one.
reading the main motion, which was the P&D committee recommendation.
I'm going to make a motion. This will be the same motion. On a motion, Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Gilman. City Council voted 8 in favor. Well, 8. No, sorry. Which one are we on?
The motion on the floor is regarding RZ 2025-004 to amend GZO Section 1.4 Organization and Administration of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Section 1.4.1 Membership, by deleting each member and associate member shall have been a resident of the City of Gloucester for at least 3 years prior to his or her appointment to the board. Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Councilor Majota. Councilor Memhard.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
No.
Councilor Benson.
Aye.
Councilor Gilman.
Aye.
Councilor Grace. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 absent. The motion passes.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Councilor's request to the mayor.
Hey, Councilor Grow.
I've relayed all my requests to the mayor. I just would request, and I know the DPW is super busy and there's lots of stuff going, but our Pride crosswalks were given short shrift this year because of construction and repaving. It'd be really nice if we finished the summer out with a little bit of rainbow power.
Councilor Majota.
All my things are in the email, and I appreciate the communication back and forth to get what I need to know. And just thank you again to the DPW for their hard work and all the city officials. Thank you.
Councilor Memhard.
And for our DPW tour last weekend. I have 2 requests. One is a follow-up that I've received from constituents of Ward 1 and Ward 2, and I've mentioned it to Councilor Benson, but asking the administration to please address through National Grid the cleaning up of their downtown lot on Rogers Street behind the fence, which is a derelict mess with no landscaping and very unattractive and very unappealing for anybody driving on Rogers Street or walking to the downtown or anything else. Second request is from constituents in Ward 1 and Ward 2 in the downtown neighborhood, requesting attendant when the DPW gets caught up to please do some more painting of the white lines at the intersection of streets where there's a stop sign, but there's no white line on the road. Some of these constituents are mobility restricted and they're in a scooter or a walker or whatever, and they're finding that people just do not stop at the stop sign. They zoom right along. A white line at the intersection, we're talking about Taylor Street, Friend Street, along that section would be very much appreciated and helpful. Thank you.
Councilor Worthley.
Thank you. Also, like everyone's saying, a thank you to the Department of Public Works. I enjoyed that tour as well. Having had the advantage of working there before, I thought I knew some of the things, but I learned a lot. Again, so thank you to Mike and to Tommy Nolan for organizing that. The block party was a big success. There's another one on August 29th. Schooner Festival coming up. Also, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for some kids, but school's starting soon. And just want to be on the alert for whatever needs to be done to make sure that the school bus stops and things like that are safe. And then lastly, as we come into election season, let's just remember that kindness matters. And so I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. I emailed the mayor some requests already, so thank you for that.
Councilor Benson.
I guess I'm shut off. Okay. No worries. I don't, I've sent my requests to the administration, and I concur, with, Councilor Memhard of Ward 1, and I've heard this from constituents about the white line at stop signs and mobility issues. And I know we put forward a proclamation recognizing the previous month as Disability Pride Month and continuing to think about these things and making our community more accessible for everyone. And lastly, I will say the DPW is doing a hell of a job, and I thank the administration for coming up with the recycling program. We are way ahead of other communities as we continue to deal with this, and hopefully they will come to at the table and negotiate, and that the Teamsters will get the pay that they deserve. Thank you.
Councilor Gilman.
Thank you, DPW. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilor Grace.
Thank you. First of all, we cannot have enough shout outs to the DPW and Mike Hale and his crew. They're amazing. Our tour was super fun and super informative last week when we went on it. And I think it would be a really great idea if we could do some sort of video presentation to get out to the public just how much the DPW does with how little resources they are given. And now my second request. I had a constituent meeting, a meeting with the neighborhood last night, and one of the things that was discussed was the prevalence of the daredevil bikers and scooter young people who are kind of terrorizing a lot of the area downtown, but also it's stretching over onto Washington Street up by the hospital in that area. It was told a story of a young girl standing on top of her bicycle, holding a camera, videotaping with, her pals cheering her on. And then all over social media this past weekend were people talking about and complaining about young kids down at the fort on motorbikes that no helmets, no registration, there are places where they shouldn't be. One individual went so far to put a photograph of a minor on social media and, with adults who should know better, making threats. Well, they better not, come across my car. They better not do this. It's no joke if one of these kids gets hurt. They are not old enough or mature enough or mentally developed enough to know better, to know what is best for them. And we as a community, the administration, the city council needs to step in before one of these kids is seriously hurt or killed, or a motorist. It's no joke when a 2,000 ton or 4,000 ton vehicle hits a kid on a bike. They don't stand a chance. So, it's high time that we stop complaining about it on social media and actually do something about it, because somebody is going to die. That's all.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Councilor Gross, seconded by Councilor Majota. All those in favor? Aye.